Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Santa Rita Union School District Board meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 5:07. We can please start with a roll call.
Ms. Sarah Turner,
Here.
Ms. Cindy Lopez,
Aye.
Mr. Jacob Sandoval,
Here.
Ms. Alvariano, and Mr. Neil Patel are not present.
Okay, we can please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, moving on to item 1.3, approval of the board agenda. If I can please get a motion to approve.
I motion. Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Turner,
Aye.
Ms. Lopez,
Aye.
Mr. Sandoval.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, today on closed session, we have item 2.1, public employee appointment/employment under Government Code Section 54957. We have item 2.2, potential litigation under Government Code Section 54956.8 and 54956.9. We also have item 2.3, public employee performance evaluation under Government Code Section 54957. Do we have any public comments regarding closed session items?
No, we do not.
Okay, can I please get a motion to adjourn to closed session, please?
Motion to adjourn to closed session.
Okay, can I get a second, please?
I second.
Okay, and a roll call.
Ms. Turner,
Aye.
Ms. Lopez,
Aye.
Mr. Sandoval.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, we'll see everybody afterwards. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. We're going to reconvene back into open session. There was nothing voted on in closed session, so there's nothing to report out. We're going to move to item 5.1, approval of consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve items 5.2 to 5.5?
Motion to approve.
Okay, can I get a second, please?
I second.
Okay, roll call.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Ms. Lopez?
Aye.
Mr. Sandoval?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, move on to item 6.1. Is there anybody here from SRTA? Or any comments submitted? No comments, okay. How about CSEA?
I have a comment from President Juana Casillas. I'm going to make it a little bigger. Just a few things to report. CSEA would like to thank Mr. Alberto Ramirez and our superintendent, Melissa Alderman, for allowing us to use the GV library to host a CSEA Union Steward meeting on Saturday, January 28th. I would also like to thank Dr. Summer Prather Smith for all her hard work and dedication in putting together the youth mental health first aid training. I was able to attend the training, which provided excellent information and resources that I am looking forward to sharing at our next CSEA chapter meeting. We greatly appreciate the communication and relationship between CSEA and the Santa Rita Union School District. Sincerely, Juana Casillas, CSEA Chapter President.
Okay, thank you, Juana, for your comments. We appreciate them. Moving on to item 6.3, Teacher Spotlight, Gavilan View Middle School. And while we're waiting, 3 of our board members attended Gavilan View Middle School. You didn't? No.
I know it's odd that I'm speaking during the Gavilan View Spotlight, but here we are. So for the past 23 years, Diane Galing has been the music teacher at Gavilan View Middle School. And under Diane's leadership, our choir, our orchestra, and our band programs have been able to thrive. She's not only made an impact at Gavilan View Middle School, but also John Gutierrez Middle School, and helped form our elementary music program. It is with profound honor as last year's recipient of the Superintendent of the Year Award that I get to recognize Diane Galing right now, but I want to tell you a little bit about her. So Diane earned her Bachelor of Arts degree from the College of St. Teresa and her Master's in Music Education from St. Thomas University in Minnesota. She's taught in Minnesota, Iowa, Idaho, Seoul, South Korea, where she had the privilege to be an honorary member of the 8th United States Army Band before moving to California and, lucky for us, settling in Salinas. I also want to point out that she taught our John Gutierrez Middle School music teacher, Shannon Casapia, in Seoul, South Korea. So this honor is given by the California Music Educators Association, CMEA, and the Middle School Music Specialist Award honors excellence in middle school instrumental and choral music instruction. The Central Coast section, which includes San Luis Obispo, Monterey, San Benito, and Santa Cruz counties, sent forth Diane Galing's name along with others for a vote, and she has been elected to receive this award. Now, while she's going to get to go to an amazing award ceremony and go through all of those honors, I wanted to, along with our board president, Mr. Sandoval, honor Diane Galing's contribution. And so I have a certificate for you. And I just want to thank you for your dedication to music education.
Would you like to say a few words?
Well, knowing Donna, she said it was a command performance to be here. I wasn't sure what was going to be planned. And between Donna and Melissa and Alberto, it's been my privilege and my pleasure to work with these kids. It's been my pleasure to be able to go over to what was Bolson Knolls at the time on my prep period, to get the choir started over there and take them to Great America when I took my kids over. It was many years ago my pleasure to have a jazz band and take them, and hopefully we can get that going again. It's been my pleasure to work with these kids and just to see it, when that light comes on. I have a fantastic trombone player right now who was in the honor band this year, and he comes in every day and he's practicing, and he's like, "How are you doing, Miss Galen? How are you doing today?" and everything. And I have a ton of kids who are hanging out in my classroom morning, break, and noon. If you had told me when I had graduated from college that I was going to be spending my career teaching middle school kids, I would have said, "You are crazy." I wanted the high school. I wanted the field shows. I wanted the marching bands. And to end up here, it's been a pleasure and it's a privilege that I will remember all of my days and that I continue to work with, and I hope to work with them. So thank you for this recognition. And next week when I go to CASMAC, I'll return, like with Melissa had last year, with the plaque. That shows that I was the Central Coast Section Music Educator of the Year, nominated by my colleagues. So thank you.
Diane, you have to stand for a picture.
Maybe not. Maybe more on that side. On that side of you.
Okay, so move on to item 6.4. Superintendent's Cabinet, Mr. Victor Sandoval, Director of MOTF.
Well, good evening, everybody. I just want to give you two brief updates, and it's in regards to my private letter to you. Today, we visited the SRUSD site and, checking for moisture content. And we found that we're going to be able to keep our timeline for the boring. So this is kind of exciting, something that we've been trying to do for over a year and plus. But we're going to be able to start the borings next week on the 13th. And I'm kind of excited for that. The other thing is, I know that on my Friday letter, I had mentioned that we're going to be ready for the CHP terminal inspection. And I have to thank my staff, my transportation staff, that they've been working extra hard. And we should be ready by Friday, a week earlier than what I had stated. So that's all I have for you tonight.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Great, thank you for the news. Director of Nutritional Services, Mr. Chuck Helm.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So our health inspector has been making the rounds the last couple of weeks, and he's a new inspector, has been pretty thorough, which has kept our staff on their toes because they never know what he's going to ask or how the inspection is going to go, which isn't a bad thing, right? You want to be thorough as an inspector, but it hasn't led to any major issues, and we've continued to receive passing inspections, including our gold seals. We haven't lost any gold seals, so that's always a plus. So for that, I want to commend our staff on how they've handled the inspections and our new inspector. Which leads me to my second item. This past Monday, the water heater in our central kitchen went down. Total loss, wasn't repairable. And knowing that the health inspector's out, I couldn't imagine how the inspection would have gone in the central kitchen without hot water. So I want to thank Victor Jesus and his staff for really going the extra mile and getting that taken care of as quickly as possible. So I actually got a text from Victor waiting for the board meeting to start, and water temp is at 124.9. So we're good to go. So thanks, Victor. I appreciate all that. Thanks.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? Okay, thank you for the update. Moving on. Chief Business Officer, Ms. Rosa Zumudio.
Good evening. So this last week, I've been working very close with bond counsel in regards to the next step for selling of the bonds. So it's been a lot of documentation that we have to turn in to make sure we meet all the legal requirements. And Melissa has been in the loop as well. She's been helping me and supporting me as well. I also been working in collaboration with Victor, and we are in the process of applying for a new grant with the Energy Commission, and it's pretty much the grant is to repair the heating, ventilation, and conditioning systems, and pretty much maintaining healthy air in the classrooms and all that. So it is on the progress. It's about $500,000. It does cover the 82%, and then the other 70%, we're planning to cover that out of the one-time funds that we have. So we're looking for that. You might see that on the upcoming board meeting. And I also been working with our auditor. We finally did submit our audit report, as you were able to see on my Friday letter. And we did the federal audit certification as well. There's more information coming up. Alex is going to be presenting. And also work on Form J13, and it's ready to go. We've been working with the county to make sure everything is in compliance. So you are going to see that on the next board meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And maybe not so much your item, but has anybody applied for the oversight board yet for the bond committee out of curiosity?
We have 0 applications, so we just sent it out again. And our school site principals are working to solicit some parents as well.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the board? No? Okay, thank you for the update. Moving on to Director of Special Education and Student Services, Ms. Melanie Grundy.
Hi, good evening. Can everybody hear me okay? Perfect. So we've been pretty busy in special ed and student services. So today, actually, we were able to have an all special education meeting. That means teachers, SL speech pathologists, occupational therapists, additional staff all came together, and we were able to talk about service logs, so a new legal piece coming out from the state about how to record our services that we're giving to students. We also talked about matriculation or transition meetings that are going to be taking place in the spring. So preschool to elementary teams will come together and collaborate, elementary to middle school, and then we partner with our high school district when we have transition meetings for our middle school to our high school. So really just emphasize the importance of both teams coming together, collaborating, and really only looking at changes of placements for students when we have that triennial data and using decision making. We also talked about just upcoming testing and necessary accommodations. Very grateful to Stephanie, our special education TOSA, that's been working collaboratively on the gen ed side of the house and just bridging our accommodation services and making sure all of those are in TOMS so that all of our students have access to their accommodations. We also are at an all-time high with special education initials. So just huge shout out to our teams that are just lifting this heavy lift of assessments. I just wanted to give a shout out to Carol Rodriguez, who is a retired special education teacher who has been kind of going between our sites and supporting teams when they are over that threshold with assessment. So she has been assessing district-wide for us. She actually started last year, at the end of last year, and has continued into this year, and we're just very thankful for her support. I also have an informational item tonight that I'll be talking about SSTs and student study teams. So happy to share that a little later. Any questions? Yeah, so initial IEP assessments. So they have been high since COVID, right? So coming back and just the learning loss that we're facing as a state, as a country, is probably a world, right? But we are seeing higher numbers than even last spring. So I think just with time, really looking at assessing, right? And I think that's what's going to be so important about us looking at our SST process and where we're assessing and where we're putting interventions. and holding on assessments.
It has definitely grown post-COVID, and is kind of what you're kind of seeing, definitely.
Absolutely. Yes.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Moving on to Director of Parent and Family and Community Engagement, Dr. Summer Prather-Smith.
Good evening, all. I'm going to be yielding my time tonight to two presentations. The only thing I want to say quickly is a thank you to Victor's team. I know Melissa will be sharing about our visit to San Diego this past week, and we'll be inviting some of our teachers to our next board meeting to share. But Victor's team helped us coordinate and get us all to the airport, 14 people on time and a pickup. So thank you to Victor and his team for that support as well. So I'm going to yield my time first to Mr. Ramirez, who's going to present for us. I will join him. Our newly elected DLAC representative, both of which are parents from Gavilan View Middle School. So it speaks to the great work that's happening there around family engagement as well. So I'm going to yield some time to him. And then we have a presentation about what used to be Little Bear Creek, but now is the STEM.
Me da mucho gusto, mucho honor, es un honor muy grande para mí poder presentarle esta recognición a dos padres que han decidido dar su servicio para nuestra escuela y para nuestro distrito. It's a great honor for me to be able to acknowledge the service that two of our Gavilan View parents are choosing to do for the benefit of our kids, of our school, and our district. So I will start with Lisette Macías, un certificado de reconocimiento. Este certificado está adjudicado a Lisette Macías por su servicio como secretaria del Comité Asesor de Aprendices de Inglés del Distrito Escolar de Santa Rita en este año escolar 22-23. Aquí tengo un certificado de reconocimiento. Este certificado está adjudicado al señor Luis González por su servicio como presidente del Comité Asesor de Aprendices de Inglés del Distrito Escolar de Santa Rita este año escolar 2022-2023.
Yeah. Nomás le quiero decir gracias a los dos. I just want to say thank you to both of you porque la escuela no es nada sin los papás y es importante que, papás como ustedes, cuando yo estaba en la Gavilan View, mis papás siempre estaban involucrados en lo que se podía. So gracias a los dos por tomar tiempo extra afuera de su familia, de sus trabajos para hacer ese sacrificio. So gracias. So I just want to say thank you for your service. My parents were at Gavilan View. They were trying to get involved as much as possible. That spends time away from your families and from work and stuff. So I'm deeply appreciative that you both did that. So thank you.
And then their children can be board president 20 years from now.
Yeah, there you go.
Sus niños ya pueden estar aquí como en unos años, ¿no?
Ya podemos tomar unas fotos, por favor.
And next, we're ready for the presentation. Thank you. Next, I'd like to present our team from the early learning at MCOE, who's going to give us an update on the preschool since the transition. Is it getting ready?
Thank you for having us here. Thank you for the invitation to provide you with an update My name is Sonia Jaramillo, and I'm the Senior Director for the Monterey County Early Learning Program. And with me,
My name is Anabel Garcia, and I'm the Assistant Director for the Early Learning Program. Nice to meet you.
so as you know, there was an opportunity for us to collaborate and oversee the services provided for the preschool known as Little Bear Creek. Wait, how's that control? Okay. So the transition happened, if we can go to the next one. I will love that. Thanks. So we're going to be presenting to you our the transition, updates on staffing, parent communication, facilities and playgrounds, and then the next steps. Of course. So the transition, we started with the conversations back in April of last year and didn't realize the process was going to take that long. So our agreement from the state, because the state has to approve any changes to the contract. So being a subcontractor is actually a major change. So we realized, Summer and I, in our collaboration, that we needed to develop a clear agreement with the components they require. So back and forth, we were able to secure those approvals at the end of June, more with the signatures and everything in July. So the summer was our opportunity to start with that transition. We submitted the paperwork to licensing, and that gave us the opportunity to look for options as they said a license is given to a district or a program under that name. So you cannot take over the name, it belongs to the district. So you need to find a new name for the school. So we are moving in the direction of making our sites more science-based, and STEAM was the logical name for the transition. We should also respect the Little Bear Creek name and all the rationale and input that you received when it was originally named. So with that, we believe that it was a neutral name to respect that. We met with staff and informed them of the changes. Summer was very instrumental in that communication, and the staff was really ready for the transition when we communicated the reasons to them. Training and professional development was required, and MCOE provided that during the transition as well. On-site for staffing, you want to talk about the staffing? I'm going to
Yeah, for staffing, what it looks right now is we have the teaching staff. So each of the classroom has the requirements that licensing requires for each of the centers to be staffed. To provide better supervision and support to the staff on a daily basis, weekly basis, etc., we have a site manager that provides direct support and supervision and oversight at the site right now. So you probably have seen her around because she's back and forth, and I know she's in communication also with Summer as we get more acquainted with the requirements also of the school, because we collaborate. In addition to that, we have what it's called a compliance manager. This person helps us to ensure that all the requirements required by the state, they're also met, because on a yearly basis, which probably Summer knows, we have to turn in a yearly report, right? So this helps us to ensure that all those requirements are in place and that everything is being made. The daily support, we do have a kitchen because we provide the meals on site. So they come from our central kitchen. We have a central kitchen that delivers the meals daily, and the meals are prepped and sent into the classroom for breakfast, lunch, and also for snack. In addition to that, we have a trace and a maintenance custodian that maintains the classrooms, the outdoors, and also we make sure that the classrooms are clean and safe and sanitized for the children on a daily basis. In addition to that, the other layer that we have, we have coordinators. Our program, and we've been saying this, I think today all day, that when we enroll the child, we enroll the family. So as we work with the children, we also work with the family. So one of the key things of the coordinators is that we have one coordinator assigned per service area. So for example, right now that you guys were giving awards for family engagement, we do have one coordinator that their service area is family engagement. We have one for health and safety. We have one for education. We have one for mental health and disabilities and so forth, in order to provide support in the different layers as needed, funneling it down to the family and also to the children in the program.
As you can see, we have multiple layers of support. But at the same time, the staff was feeling a little bit overwhelmed with that change, and we work with them at their own pace. We were meeting with them individually in small groups. We called them to meetings during professional development days. They didn't have any professional development days, so that was a new thing for them. It was like, what do you mean? The students don't come and we get to get training? So all of that happened. Prior to the transition being official, they also received 5 days of training. We base our program, our main funding source is Head Start. We received $12 million from Head Start, and basically comprehensive services are a requirement for the program. So all of our programs, state or federal, undergo the same procedures because we see the benefit to the students and families. So we require the same, and we treat all of our programs the same. So all the training we provided to the staff as well because we see the benefit of it. For parent communication, the original contract had 246 days, and it still does, but we requested a 200-day modification to align the schedules with what we have. So the information was sent to the state, and we are working on that adjustment. Meantime, we were meeting with the parents to notify them of these updates and changes to match the school schedules. We had meetings with the parents, with each one of the parents one-on-one. We explained to them these changes, and we notified them of the hours continue the same, but it was just going to be fewer days. So cutting to 46 days and making it 200. We wanted to see if some of them are still needed the service, because when we survey the parents, we also ask them, do you still need 246 days? Or are you needing fewer days? Most of the parents said, I would like to have my schedule match my child's schedule. And those parents that still needed the extra days, we honor the calendar as we were transitioning. So this year we kept that. However, in December, we had the schools open the whole month of December and January. That was the original plan. We only had 7 kids attend. So the attendance was super low, and we called the families, we notified them, and we ended up having to then stop the sessions right in December, the first week of January, because the storms were here, and also because of the attendance. Parents were okay. We gave them plenty of notice to allow them to secure childcare, and it actually helped. Not that we wanted the storms, but it actually helped because we ended up having to close the sites anyways. So the daily schedule continues to be 7:30 to 4 because that was definitely a need that they wanted to continue. So facilities and playgrounds. I don't know if any of you walked by and saw a lot of things outside. We decluttered, and I mean declutter in a good way, because teachers had a lot of things. I am a teacher by heart, kinder teacher. I love teaching kinder. And you collect things. We saw that. We saw the collection of things, a lot of things. The storages were full. We had classrooms full of good stuff, but it is too much. And one of the main requirements of licensing is the space that you allow a child to be able to explore and enjoy in the classroom. So had licensing come and measure the spaces, we would have been out of compliance because we had a lot of new things added. So we started to remove things, working with the staff, because of course we know how it feels to detach ourselves from the things that we have in the room. So we ended up removing materials and supplies from that facility. And we have 3 classrooms right now providing services, and the other 3 had been retrofitted. We also updated the restrooms because the toilets were for students that were a little bit bigger, middle school and adult size. So the students were using stepping stools to use the toilets. And that is actually an item out of compliance had they checked. So we removed those toilets and replaced them with the actual size they needed to have. The sinks need to be at the height of the little ones. So a lot of changes happened in those restrooms. We divided the kids with the adults. Before that, they were mixed, and you can have adults using the little ones' restrooms. So long story short, if you walk into the facilities, you're going to see them meeting the needs of the age of that we're serving, which is preschool age students. Our playground has been also updated. We removed some items that were not safe for the students, and we continue to move some of those items out of the space. The 3 classrooms, so the office and 3 classrooms are currently being providing services for preschool age kids, and the other 3, we are waiting for licensing to come and visit and give us the new name. We submitted the application back in August, but they are overload, and they had told us that we're next on the list, but they still haven't changed. So that's why we're still that, but officially we're calling it the STEAM Academy. The plan, based on community needs, and when we survey the parents, they want to see more services for infants and toddlers. And because the schools will be absorbing 4-year-olds, we're moving in the direction of switching services to accommodate and meet the needs of our community. So serving 3-year-olds, 2-year-olds, 1-year-olds, going down in that direction to meet that need. So our 3 new classrooms, 1 will be for preschool services and make it part A, because there was a need for a child that qualify for kinder to receive services and prepare them at the preschool level because of lack of schooling opportunities prior to that. But we couldn't enroll the little one because we didn't have part day services here. So this would allow the district to send us those students who may need that, and our program will continue to get the revenue that it needs to have provided. The other 2 classrooms will be CCTR. We apply for infant and toddler funding, which is CCTR. The letters don't align to what they're called. But that would allow us to provide services to our 2 and 3-year-olds in those sites, which is, again, what parents wanted. But once you move down to that age in preschool, we can have a max of 24 students for infants and toddlers. The max then changes. So it goes to 16 students, 12 students, depending on the adults that we have in the room. But definitely the numbers go down in terms of how many children we can enroll. If we combine it with early Head Start, it goes down to 8 per classroom. So we're looking at all the options and opportunities for our families to be able to meet that need. But all of the parents, we have a wait list already of parents wanting to have that happen. And let's see. So next steps. We are working on aligning all of our schedules. So like I said, the contract has been amended. We submitted the request to the state so that next year we have 200 days. And that would be aligned with the CCTR, the infant and toddler program as well, and all of our programs. So in our program, we have part A, which is 3 hours for families who only want a little bit of service, and that's 160 days. Then you go to the extended day, is 175 days out of the year. And then this will be 200 days, longer hours, and then CCTR. CCTR services, like I said, for children 2 to 4. And then we are going to, we're waiting for CDE to release funding opportunities so that we can apply and prepare for the transition. Right now, it's still not out. We try to apply for a CCTR, but it's the same requirement. We have to own the land. And as a county office of ed, we don't own any land. And because Santa Rita doesn't have CCTR funding, you didn't qualify for that. So we're waiting for CDE to provide CSPP funding for that. And then we look forward to ongoing collaboration and continuing with the services. And like Annabelle said, we strongly believe is that when we enroll a child, we enroll a family. Today was a very good opportunity for us. We had a groundbreaking event at Harnell. We are opening up, we are building 4 classrooms there. We got a grant and $4 million to open up 4 classrooms, install them in there. So we're in the process. We're excited because it will be the MCOE STEAM Academy. This is another one of the academies. So we're extremely happy and love the opportunity to continue to collaborate with you. And questions?
I guess I'll go first. Well, sometimes things happen for reasons. I think this is an awesome transition that MCOE was able to kind of come in and take over. And it seems like what you're doing is going to help our families and the children as they transition in. You said that you already have a waiting list, and that's for what age range or which of the programs?
Families are looking for services for infants and toddlers. So 1-year-olds to 3-year-olds, they want services. So we are taking down information as they ask for services.
Okay. And then you mentioned you have other sites or academies that you've kind of set up, and one you mentioned was Hartnell. Prior to the one that you took over here at Santa Rita, how many other sites do you have?
Countywide, we have 34 classrooms, and we have King City, Greenfield, Gonzales, Chular. Going north, we have Hall, Castroville, Santa Rita. We have the Alisa School District. We have some. We have Salinas City, and there's one independent, which is the Salinas Child Development Center on Abbott, and First Steps, which belongs to the County Office of Ed.
And the other ones at the Salinas District is something similar as far as the age group and what you're working with? Yes.
So we're trying to right now expand because families are looking for that level of services for their little ones. The districts, because of the TK Universal Preschool Opportunity statewide, the districts will eventually take over our 4-year-olds. And that would leave us with then having to step back and go down to providing services to 3-year-olds through the CSPP grant, which is what you have here. And for us, we also need to start thinking about what other age group do we need to serve, which is, because of community needs, the 1 and 2-year-olds.
Okay. As TK gets transitioned in, how does it impact our grant and with MCOE?
Want me to answer that, Sonia? So, I mean, similarly, as more 4-year-olds go into the system, as Sonia was sharing, that's why we really want to start to open up opportunities for younger students so that we can continue to make sure that we offer services under our grant.
Okay. Okay. Because it's still fall in with what
the grant continues. It is simply that we would have to. The grant allows us to provide services to 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds.
Okay.
But the districts are taking over our 4-year-olds, and there's funding coming in for that. So with that said, then they're going to TK, and we're only left with 3-year-olds if we want to continue with that grant, which is the plan to do it.
Okay. And our current grant lasts to?
It's a year.
A year?
For this year, yeah. So we would reapply and then do that cycle again. And that's part of the reason of that focus on the additional grant for those 1 and 2-year-olds. So it'll help keep funding available, though it'll be from the additional grant.
Got it. Thank you. Questions or comments from the board?
I just want to thank all the Santa Rita staff that made this happen and all the MCOE staff. It's just been an incredible blessing to us, and I didn't want to lose the support that we'd been providing to families. So I'm just incredibly grateful for all the work and the flexibility that you guys have shown.
And I'll just echo that. I want to thank Sonia and her team. It's been so great to collaborate. It was, if you have a chance to walk out there, you're going to see the great improvements that have happened. It's an amazing learning space for students, and our staff who transitioned over to the county office are in an amazing teaching space. And so, though of course transition is always hard, when I see them now, everybody feels like they're in a place of learning. And so I'm really grateful to Sonia and her team for the ongoing collaboration, and I look forward to it continuing in the future.
Same here. We appreciate your help. Summer has been essential in this successful transition. Our fiscal component has been amazing. So, I mean, HR, everyone has been critical on this transition, and we appreciate and your support for approving the transition. We are here to serve students, and it so happens that we can use our expertise to support that need, and we're happy to do it.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anabel. Thank you, Sonia.
Okay. So yeah. Okay.
That's all I have.
Okay. Or I guess just on the side thing, I mean, I guess I appreciate all the workshops that are going out to the parents. Now I'm starting to save them so that way if anybody asks me, I'll be like, look, we've had all these opportunities the whole year, you know, that you could have taken advantage and stuff. So I appreciate all the stuff that's coming out. So thank you. Okay, Director of Curriculum and Instruction, Ms. Donna Coney.
Thank you so much. With us today is our new team member to our IT department, Gilbert Casares, and he can wave his hand. So it's a great smile to bring back to the team and lift our IT team with Krisha and everybody. So we want to appreciate all the work that is moving forward with our IT department. This afternoon, the LCAP Community Partner Survey was sent out for our feedbacks for development of our 23-24 LCAP. The season has started. Want to shout out to all our academic coaches and EL specialists for their work as LPAC testing has launched, as well as the fitness testing season has launched as well. We have 1,405 students taking the LPAC summative starting February to May. And shout out to Krisha driving our AVID teams. We're going to be putting forth quite a few teachers to go to the AVID Summer Institute. And that's very exciting. And I want to shout out also to Melanie's team, our attendance clerks, Yenny Nunez, our academic coaches, EL specialists, our IEP health checks have been amazing, Melanie, as it's helping us get the data that comes out of Cyrus, the data that goes into Aries, the enrollment data that goes into Aries, more smooth, so we have less errors for that goes into CalPads that then goes into TOMS for the testing. So when we have those errors, it puts students testing on hold until those errors are corrected, and we're seeing less errors this year substantially, and that's due to the teamwork of Yenny and Melanie's team and our academic coaches and EL specialists, just really seeing it with more details to make sure that what goes into our systems are more adequate and correct, as all these systems now talk to each other. At the next board meeting, I'll be bringing to you our mid-year update for our one-time grants and our LCAP and moving that forward. And again, I just want to thank you all and thank Summer for all the work she's doing, and Melanie and Rosa and her team is really making our teams tighter and more fluid. So I appreciate everybody, and Becky's team too, and Victor's team and Chuck's team.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, thank you for the update. Moving on to Assistant Superintendent of Human Resource, Ms. Becky Moore.
Thank you. HR's really big focus right now is preparing for teacher recruitment for next school year. Our first recruitment fair will be at CSU Fresno on February 22nd. And that week, we're actually attending 3 fairs. On the 23rd is CSUMB. And then Saturday, the 25th is MCOE's fair. So we're going to start off with a bang and hope that we meet some great candidates. We're registered for a total of 9 teacher recruitment fairs this year, and do have a focus on attracting some more diverse staff to our school as part of the goals that we set forth in the Equity and Diversity Coalition. And so we're really focused on those goals as well. As Donna mentioned, with CalPads data, Fall 2 is due on February 24th. And so I have been collaborating closely with Donna and Yenny, our student data specialist, on that Fall 2 data submission. The data that goes in there affects HR as well and our assignment monitoring. We attended, 3 of us in HR, the credentials workshop last week, and there were several key pieces connected to that Fall 2 data dump. I have more. Sarah, I have for you and the board, finally, that information that you have requested about our custodial and food service staffing. So I'm going to hand that down.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Collaborating with Victor and Chuck to look at this really caused us to think about the way that we're staffing for these. And we're in a pattern now where we're staffing the way that we've always done it, which may not necessarily be meeting the needs. So we have committed to reaching out to some of our colleagues in other districts, as well as looking at some of our professional business associations who can support us with what are the most effective ways to staff for food service and custodial, just to make sure that what we're doing is in fact adequate. And if not, we can make some adjustments.
And just so the rest of the board is aware, this actually came out of the meetings that I was doing when I was going around to different sites, talking about the bond and then asking if people had any concerns. It was actually teachers that said to me, hey, we feel like the classified staff is, that the burden isn't the same across different sites. Could we look into that? And I said, sure, we can look into it. And I really appreciate the administration for following it up and appreciating also that student counts change all the time. Things change from year to year and you just don't know, how things are going to go. And, but I appreciate this, my thanks out to the teachers for bringing forward just the concerns that they had for their colleagues at different sites.
Yeah, it looks like the trend has been to have a certain number of personnel per site as a flat number, in the past. And that's something that Chuck walked into and that I walked into and that we hadn't yet stepped back to look at. So thank you for prompting us to do that.
So, okay. Yeah, no, this is really good to kind of take a look at. I had a question. When jobs are posted for teachers,
Yes.
the contact person on there, is it typically the principal on the school site they're going to be applying to? Okay.
Yeah, it is if we're posting for a specific position. What we will be posting next week will be our teacher recruitment pools because we don't yet know exactly where the openings are going to fall. So we'll have, for instance, an opening that says teacher recruitment pool elementary school teachers or teacher recruitment pool PE teachers or science teachers. And that allows people who are interested in our district or who are just coming out of a college program and want to start getting their applications in to apply for their subject area. But we won't have that specific school up yet for the principal to be the contact person. So in that case, it will be our HR liaison, Charlotte Garcia. And then as time progresses, once we know exactly what the specific openings are, which will be later because we first contractually with SRTA need to determine where our current teachers are going to be assigned, and then send out a list to all of our SRTA members to show where the vacancies are in case internally anyone wants to transfer. Then we finally know where our specific positions are open. So that takes some time. Usually that's more like May by the time all of that is hashed out.
Okay. So for example, once that list is hashed out and it's May, as you post job and it's for like a specific school, then the contact person would potentially be the
principal there. Yeah. And that's what you would see if you looked at, we still have a couple of vacancies, as you know. So like we have the reading intervention teacher position at JGMS. The contact person on that is Anthony Morales, the principal there.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's typically how it's
Typically how it's done. When it's special education, I think we are directing them to Melanie first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Moving on to the board and the superintendent. We'll start off with Ms. Sarah Turner.
Thank you. Since last we met, I did attend the Monterey County School Boards Association meeting, which was a really positive meeting. We reelected our board, and I I'm grateful to all the people that are serving there. We are reinstituting our dinner in late March. So when I have the exact information, I will let you guys know, but I'm hoping that some of the board members and admins will attend. It was a goal that we had set as a district in February 2020 that we were going to be supportive of this event, and then it got canceled and has been not happened since. So this is sort of our opportunity to sort of uphold that commitment. It was Greenfield Community Science Association that is going to receive the Excellence in Education Award this year. So I'm interested to find out more about them and what they're doing. But it was a really positive meeting. And one of the things that I've been really appreciative of being on this organization is the fact that we suggest different topics for trainings for school board members, and the county has been amazing about searching out the best training opportunities and putting, when we've asked for it, they've found it or created it. So they've just been really responsive, and I've appreciated that. So I'm going to be reaching out to you guys about attending the dinner in March. I myself really want to make it a point to do so. This is a little bit of a relearning how to put on the dinner, since it hasn't happened since 2019. So I'm excited, just going forward. And my hope is that we can start building more connections across districts, because I think everybody benefits when you do that, just the way that we've seen with cross trainings, with teachers and administrators. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Cindy Lopez.
Yeah, going off of what you just said, thank you, because I actually did a training on Monday about budget to understand Ms. Rosa's role, and thank you so much, because I mean you have a role, you have some big shoes to fill, and you're doing great. And honestly, those trainings by the Monterey County are great. I mean, when I got sworn in, that first meeting was budget, and I was like, oh my God, what did I get myself into, right? Because it's hard to understand that training. He really did a good job, and so a lot of things was like, oh, okay, now I get what this comes. So awesome, that's awesome, and that's great. Thank you for that. Also, last week I did also join the special education parent workshop. Thank you, Samara. And Melanie also, I know that, they have a lot to do with that. And it was a lot of information, hopefully our parents chime in, and they do great with sending texts, and all of that, emails for parents to be aware of all of these workshops that are happening. I know that they have one in person coming up April 7th, and I believe it's going to be at the Santa Rita school site, and it's autism awareness, and I am planning to attend that. It seems like it's very interesting. And then also on May 19th, I believe it's going to be another virtual, just like they did with the IEPs this past week. And it's a lot of good information. So that's great information for our parents in our district to chime in. So thank you for all those workshop ladies. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you, Sarah. We did attend the training, and they did mention how you guys are pushing, and the last two trainings I've been to have been awesome. And I mean, I've been on the board for 4 years, and obviously I jumped in as board president on my third year and stuff. And this last workshop, I mean, I even learned a lot of stuff, and it just kind of tells myself, you keep coming to these kind of like teachers, we expect them to go to PDs and stuff. So, and they kind of talked a little bit about the audit process too. So we'll kind of bring that forward as well. So that's all I have to report. Superintendent Alderman.
Okay. I want to thank Dr. Summer Prather-Smith for arranging a trip for 13 of us from the district to go down for a very fast turnaround visit to beautiful San Diego. And we joined the staff and students at and I got her to write it down for me, the Health Science High and Middle College program there in San Diego. We took, there were 3 of us administrators, and then the rest of our staff who went with us are teachers. We also had a group of staff members from the Salinas Union High School District join us on the trip. So I think we were a group of like 27 all together when we tried to have dinner out, which was quite a reservation, but it was a great time. I really want to thank our teachers for all the great conversations that we had, whether we were in the van or walking around the school site or waiting for a ride to the airport. And it was really engaging and thoughtful. And want to thank Dr. Dominique Smith for allowing us to come and visit, and his administrators and teachers for welcoming us in, as well as his students who were bold and brave enough to be in a room full of educators who asked them very poignant and personal questions about their experience with restorative practices and being at a school that was really focused on getting them in school and engaged and keeping them safe and moving them forward in life. And so it was a really thought-provoking visit, and I'm excited for those teachers to come and share out at our upcoming board meeting so you can hear about some of the great things. We'll be posting some photographs and things from our visit for everyone to see as well.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? No, just me looking forward to having them here to ask questions. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 7.1, is there any public comments regarding non-agenda items?
No, there's not.
Okay, and how about 7.2, any public comments regarding agenda items?
No, thank you.
No, okay. Moving on to 8.1, approval of resolution adopting the City of Salinas Safe Routes to Schools plan.
Good evening. My name is Amelia Conlin. I'm a planner with Ecology Action. I'm not sure if any more introduction is needed or if I should just launch right into it. Great. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let me know if this is coming through for you guys. Looks good? Okay. So I was here in October to share the draft Salinas Safe Routes to Schools plan with you. And I'm here tonight to share the changes that were made between the draft and final plan and request adoption and approval of the final plan by your board. So as a reminder, the Salinas Safe Routes to Schools plan is a plan to make it easier and safer to walk and bike to 45 schools in Salinas and just outside of Salinas. This has been a 3-year planning process. We started at the beginning of 2020 and wrapped up for the most part at the end of 2022. The project was funded through a grant from the state of California, as well as local Measure X matching funds through the Transportation Agency for Monterey County. And the project was a partnership between the Transportation Agency for Monterey County, the Monterey County Health Department, Ecology Action, the City of Salinas, and the County of Monterey, and the 4 school districts in Salinas. So here's a little bit of what we're aiming for with this plan. The vision that we're laying out here is that students at all of these 45 schools, as well as their families, can walk, bike, scooter, skateboard, get to school safely, however they choose to do so, and that they have the skills and confidence that they need to travel to school safely without using their car. Another part of the vision is that students and families know that their trip to school helps our environment, helps keep students and families healthy, and can save their family money, and that they're more connected to their neighborhoods through their trips to school. And the 2 big goals for this plan are that as these projects and programs are implemented, the majority of children in Salinas will arrive at school on foot, by bike, by scooter or skateboard, by taking the bus or carpooling. Basically anything other than driving to school alone, and that they will be able to do that safely, that there will be 0 collisions involving students or families walking or biking that result in injury or death. And that's in line with the City of Salinas's Vision 0 goals. So that's really what we're aiming for with this plan. So this plan is a large document. It includes many projects for each of the 45 schools. It is a wish list. What we're trying for with this plan is to set the city and county up for future grant applications It's really helpful for state agencies to see that you've done this planning work, that you've reached out to the community, gathered input, heard feedback on the recommendations list, and having this type of plan in place helps support the city and the county as they apply for grants in the future. And we did just have a round of active transportation grant funding that happened in 2022. And in that cycle, the County of Monterey was awarded $16 million in funding for safe routes to schools and other active transportation projects. So that, again, is really our goal. The city and the county do not currently have funding to implement all of the projects included in the plan, but what we're trying to do here is set them up for success next time they go out and apply for grant funding, and helping them to bring in that outside funding to be able to construct improvements around our schools. And there's also, particularly in the city of Salinas, in the Santa Rita and McKinnon area, there's opportunity to include bike and pedestrian improvements as the city goes out and repaves streets. So this is something they're thinking about. They'll be looking at this project list as they do their regular road maintenance activities and looking for opportunities to upgrade crosswalks, potentially to put in new bicycle facilities, to highlight existing bike facilities. And that's a really low cost and easy way to construct improvements around school sites. So I was here to share a longer presentation in October and heard several comments from board members and one comment from a member of the public with suggestions and ideas for the plan. And so I just wanted to share responses to each of those comments. The first comment that we heard was that the Baranda Meadows apartment complex should consider opening an additional gate to disperse traffic. And we did pass that comment on to the city's community development department as something for them to consider as part of the permitting for that apartment complex. We also heard a few comments about traffic on Rogie Road and how that creates cut-through traffic in the neighborhood surrounding La Jolla throughout the Bolsa Knolls neighborhood. And we had that conversation with the county during the planning process, and they did not want to select specific streets to recommend speed bumps or other traffic calming measures. But what they wanted to recommend was doing a comprehensive neighborhood traffic calming plan, knowing that all of the streets in the Bolsa Knolls neighborhood are impacted by this cut-through traffic. So there is a recommendation in the plan to conduct a neighborhood traffic calming plan and consider bike boulevard treatments, which are meant to slow down traffic and make it easier for people to walk and bike. And the plan lists some possible streets where traffic calming could take place, but the county really wanted to take a comprehensive look at the neighborhood before identifying specific treatments. We also heard that the intersections of San Juan Grade Road at Cornwall and Penzance are critical locations for improvements. And that's definitely something that we saw during the school audit. There's traffic moving quickly on San Juan Grade Road and students crossing at Cornwall and Penzance. And we do have recommendations in the plan specifically for those intersections to construct curb extensions, which help to reduce the distance that students need to cross so they spend less time in the intersection, to upgrade the existing crosswalks to high visibility at those locations, to install rectangular rapid flashing beacons, which are the pedestrian activated lights, to make pedestrians more visible to people who are driving, and to install median pedestrian refuge islands. So safe space in the middle of the intersection, middle of the crosswalk, for pedestrians to be able to wait before crossing the rest of the street. So we definitely looked at those intersections and identified those intersections as a place where improvements were needed. And those are the recommendations for those intersections in the plan. We also received an email from a member of the public about the need for sidewalk on San Juan Grade Road. And that was also definitely something that we saw during the school audit. Lots of students walking without sidewalks to school. And there is a recommendation in the plan to construct sidewalks along segments where there is not currently sidewalk between Russell Road and Rogie Village Way. and to consider in the future a multi-use path for bicycle use. So figure out a way to create some safe and protected space on San Juan grade for people riding bikes. And then we received a comment from a member of the public about the need for a walking path on Natividad between Rogi and Baranda. And this is a little bit of a tricky one because the city has a development plan for the area between Rogi and Baranda. It's called the West Area Specific Plan, and it would involve future roadways and housing and a little bit of commercial use. And so in that plan, the West Area Specific Plan, it does specify that bike lanes and 8-foot sidewalks on both sides of the street should be installed on Natividad between Rogi and Baranda when that development is constructed. And it's something that the developer would pay for. So that's something that is planned. If and when that development moves forward, the developer would be required to install sidewalks and bike lanes on Natividad to make it easier, especially for high school students to get to Rancho San Juan High. So I just wanted to give that update and response to each of the comments that we heard in our last meeting, and just remind folks what this project is about. And the recommendation before you tonight is to approve and adopt the City of Salinas Safe Routes to Schools plan. This does not require the district to implement all of the recommendations in this plan. It's really a show of your support. And again, it helps support the city and the county as they move forward with grant applications in the future to be able to say that, yes, the district is behind this plan, supports this plan. And yeah, the goal here is to bring in more funding for our streets and for safety improvements. So that concludes my presentation, and I welcome any questions or comments you may have.
I'm going to start off saying thank you for incorporating the comments made by the board at the previous meeting and updating the plan. I know that the plan of this is to do all the legwork, so once funding becomes available, there's pretty much a roadmap, for the different agencies to implement these things to obviously make the safe routes to school. So I want to say thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I was not here for the earlier presentation. I had a surgery in October. Can you tell us your name again and where it is you work for?
Yes, my name is Amelia Conlin. I'm a planner with Ecology Action, and we're one of the partners on this project. And I was the project manager for developing the plan.
Okay, Amelia, I don't know if you can answer this question, but I have incredibly deep concerns about this plan because of the proposed widening of Baranda Road and putting in the traffic circles. I don't know if you're familiar with McKinnon Elementary, but we have 404 students who live on the right side of the road and have to cross the road every single day to go to school. And widening that road and putting in traffic circles, I have absolutely no understanding about how those 404 students are going to cross the road every day.
Mm-hmm.
Have any ability to address that? We have brought it up to the city multiple times and have had no response.
Yeah, that project has been going on for many years. So it wasn't something that we came up with during this planning process. It was a pre-existing project that the city has been working on. In many cases, roundabouts are safer for pedestrians who are crossing. I think still having a crossing guard in the future at that intersection is something that the district should think about. And I think we talk about roundabout education in the plan. I mean, this is something that is not common in Salinas.
I read the whole thing.
Yeah, thank you. But the safety benefit of roundabouts is that rather than needing to look in a lot of different directions at once, if you're a driver, if you are turning through an intersection, you are potentially, if you're turning left through an intersection, you may be looking for traffic that's coming straight towards you, and not looking for pedestrians who are crossing in the crosswalk. And roundabouts really help to break down those actions into separate steps. So you approach the roundabout, you first come to a crosswalk, you're required to yield to anyone who's walking through the crosswalk. And then the second step is to approach the roundabout and look to see whether traffic is coming before entering the roundabout. So there is good data to show that roundabouts are safer than traffic signals for people who are walking in particular, because it really focuses the action of drivers and gives them less to pay attention to at once, so that they can pay attention on whether someone is crossing in the crosswalk.
Yeah, the overwhelming number of people on that road are just going straight. But I guess my concern really is I have deep concerns that all of those people that are letting their children walk across the street are now going to think that they need to get into a car and take them because of the change to this road. So my concern is in voting for this, that the city's just going to go forward and say, well, you voted for this. You obviously support this plan, rather than engaging with us to talk about what we're really going to do.
Yeah.
This I think she can't really control as far as the roundabouts.
I
Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
I totally get that. I just, and I don't want to hold up anybody's funding,
Sure.
but how do we then solve this problem? How do we stop contributing to this problem and actually start working to solve this problem?
Yeah, no, that's understandable. Okay, so we'll read. Do you have more questions for her? Or no, that was it. Yeah.
I will say, we were constrained during this project, and we did our school audit during COVID. And so we were talking to the principal about what conditions were typically like, and sending out parent surveys and attending parent meetings to ask parents what their situation was, in the before times. And we did get a lot of comments that parents did not feel safe walking through that intersection as it currently stands. It is a large intersection right now. It's a really long crossing distance for parents. And I would need to think back to know whether there's a protected left signal phase for people who are turning left or right. And so we definitely did hear comments that parents have safety concerns about the intersection as it currently stands. And roundabouts are a very new treatment and something that, hasn't been implemented widely in our communities, but there are a lot of cases in which it is a more comfortable experience for people who are walking, because you have a much shorter distance to cross. And even on a large road like Veranda, you're breaking up that crossing into several different short legs. So people are spending less time in the intersection. And then again, you're separating out the movement for drivers so that they have less to pay attention to at any one time. So I hope I'm giving you a decent roundabout pitch, but the data is there that they have a good track record of improving pedestrian safety. And I think there are safety concerns at that intersection now, as it's currently configured.
Okay, and this plan's already final, so really us approving it or not approving it is really more whenever they try to apply for funding in the future, right? So for example, the county receiving the $16 million, I mean, whether we approve it or doesn't approve it, that funding is already there, right? Really is we're just kind of giving our stamp of approval for this project of the safe routes to school. So if they do go to funding sources, they can say all the school districts approve this plan. Is that kind of what the goal is?
That's correct. Yeah. And we did start this process. When we started this process, the city was already pretty far along with that roundabout project. So I can certainly pass on your comment and encourage them to reach out to you and have a conversation about the project. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that there hasn't been more outreach in the past. But it wasn't something that we designed as part of this planning process. It was something the city has been working on for many years, I believe.
Other questions, comments? No. Okay. So I'm going to read the resolution and then we can take it up for a motion. So before the Board of Trustees of the Santa Rita Union School District, resolution number 23.02.04, resolution approving and adopting the City of Salinas Safe Routes to School Plan. Whereas the Transportation Agency for Monterey County received a grant award from Caltrans and contributed local Measure X funding to create the City of Salinas Safe Routes to Schools Plan in partnership with the City of Salinas, the Monterey County Health Department, Ecology Action in each of the 4 school districts in Salinas. And whereas the purpose of creating a plan was conducted audits of parent student impediments to walking or biking to school, garner community support and feedback, and identify priority projects that encourage increased active transportation. And whereas the City of Salinas Safe Routes to School Plan is a high-level planning document that will be utilized for future grant applications to Caltrans and other active transportation funding. It includes programmatic recommendations the school districts and school sites may use to encourage active transportation. Now therefore be it resolved in order that the Santa Rita Union School District hereby approves and adopts the City of Salinas Safe Routes to Schools Plan. Okay. Can I get a motion to approve?
I motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Ms. Lopez?
Aye.
Mr. Sandoval?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you for the presentation.
Thank you. And I will pass on that feedback to the city. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with me.
Thank you. And we would love it. We'd be so happy to host anybody from the city to come out to our schools and talk about things that they want to do that unfortunately has not happened. The last meeting that they had regarding traffic in our area was 7 years ago.
Okay, I will let them know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to item 8.2, approval of project addition to phasing plan.
Well, good evening again. That's my item. I know that if you look at the attachment, it's a document that you've already seen. This is part of an augmentation of another additional project that the facilities committee actually viewed and really was in desire to put this into the first phase of our phasing plan. The augmentation or the addition is for Santa Rita to provide a restroom facility that is up to date for staff and students. If you look at the price on there, it's $670,000. But that's also calculating on all of the unknowns, solely because when I sat down with the architect and the engineer, we looked at the historical as-built, and there has been many pipes and stuff that we could probably bring that pipes down. However, we don't know if it was abandoned or or cut off and stuff like that. So there is a lot of infrastructure underneath the location where we're looking at putting that restroom. However, looking at the worst case scenario, which the price kind of reflects that, we can still afford it solely because this phasing plan is actually being funded by several different funds. I did kind of mention, the general fund, the modernization eligibility fund, the bond program also. So the first phase, we're looking at about $8.9 million. I know that Miguel had made a presentation of our first issuance of 7.9, but we do have money set aside for projects that didn't meet the eligibility, so that would be covered by the general fund. So tonight I'm proposing that, you go ahead and approve the augmentation to the phasing plan. So I think it'll go a long ways with staff, especially the staff that has been complaining for several years of, the availability of restrooms.
Okay, perfect. The only, I guess, comment I have is as we move forward with some of the projects, I think it'd be a good idea either to have a breaking ground or ribbon cutting when they're done. Just let the community know, like, hey, this is kind of where, kind of we done. I know with the Family Resource Center, I think we all got busy and kind of didn't happen. So hopefully, especially for the shade structures, because I know there was a lot of parents there, and it kind of creates that excitement. So if we go ask for funding again, they can remember and say, hey, part of the bond that you voted for, like, look, we're putting in shade structures, or we're putting in, a lot of that stuff. So that would just be my ask for part of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Loud and clear. We can do that.
Thank you, especially for the Santa Rita bathroom project, which I am incredibly grateful. And thank you to the staff that advocated for that for themselves and for the kids and who were just so, down to earth. Like, we can't all get to the bathroom in the time that the children are at recess. I mean, these are things that if people don't come forward, then we don't necessarily know. So just incredibly grateful and funny. As I've been talking to people in the community, they were like, what are you going to build first? I'm like, well, we're going to put in a new bathroom. They're like, that's really important. It is really important. So thank you so much.
Victor, so me being new a new member, I actually wanted to just, if you could emphasize a little bit. I know that this approval happened before I came on board, correct? I believe it happened before it. I kind of looked in it, but she just said, the bathroom. But can you just really quick, just touch base on this number here? Is it for multiple facilities? Is there one specific, whatnot?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, at the top cell on the left-hand side, it identifies the site that we're actually touching. So Gavilan View, John Gutierrez. La Jolla doesn't have anything on the first phase solely because we're working with MCOE on a moving project. McKinnon, New Republic, and Santa Rita, we do have monies there, but that's also a coordination between the Monterey County Office of Education. So we try to cover as many sites on projects that were identified in a master plan. So let me just back up a little bit. So before the facilities committee, we also started a facilities need assessment, which is considered a master plan for the entire district. So basically what we did, we met with principals, some staff. We did like a query of all the work orders that were actually made for the past 3 to 4 years. We met with, some of the directors and stuff like that. And we, combined all the needs. And also we, meaning the architect, engineer, and myself, would visit the site and identify all of the things that, either need to be fixed, replaced, or modernized. So that master plan is on our website. If you want to take a peek at it, it's definitely a very long document. But, if you just pick a site and it's kind of formatted in the form that it identifies all of the bad stuff, it takes pictures, and then it says, okay, this is what we can do. This needs to be repaired. And then at the very end, it gives you a document or a breakdown of the cost of the entire assessment. And then it also shows maps of where we would put location of new buildings, 2-story buildings versus, a slew of portables. It also actually gives you the phasing plan too. So if you look at Gavilan View, for example, that one has 5 phasing plans. And that's based on the availability of funding. So what the goal is really is to take the available monies for the modernization, new construction, or whatever we had, and find out what funding we can get from state, local, federal, whatever. And so basically this plan is actually taking a step forward, but not taking a step back every single time we do something. So it is a master plan or a pathway. I would kind of describe it, in order to get to the ultimate goal of fixing all our campuses and modernizing them. So if you look at the first phase, it identifies the project. It's a brief description, but with the dollar value, and that's an estimate. For example, I can tell you this much: because of the national purchasing agreements that are available, I think we're definitely going to be saving some money on the McKinnon and New Republic shade structures. So that's 2 shade structures for McKinnon, 2 shade structures for New Republic. because for the provision and the installation, it already is a pre-negotiated price, which was actually priced a few years ago before the big spike in pricing. So these are the manufacturers that are holding their prices and have the resources to go ahead and do that. So wherever we can save any money, we are going to. And of course, we do have escalation now. So these prices that are given to you are with soft cost and hard cost. So meaning the design, the criteria, the engineering, and the construction of it. I don't know if that answers your question. Maybe I went a little too far on the information, but let me know.
Yeah, awesome.
Cindy, were you asking about the 670,000 specifically, or
I guess just
the one on the agenda item?
yeah, the one on the agenda.
Okay.
item, but
I can speak to that one. So the one on the agenda item is a modular restroom facility that has a multi-user men's room, multi-user women's room, and then two single-use non-gendered restrooms all in one prefabricated building. And so the cost of that building is a little over 200,000. The estimated cost that Victor was mentioning, he has to estimate very high right now because he has to assume that the plumbing is broken. It's already been tied off and we can't get into that. And we're going to have to go all the way from the main line, hoping that when we get in there and do the exploratory work, it isn't blocked off and we can connect where we need to. But in order to go ahead and get the project started, we need to get that approved. So it's just that one restroom. Long, sort of a long rectangle building, men's room, women's room, two single use. It'll have a ADA compliant ramp access as well. And then the larger cost is having to estimate for the potential infrastructure issues that they may find to connect to plumbing.
Yeah, so that item is just for that. Yeah, specific.
Perfect. Thank you.
Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve, yay!
Yeah. Can I get a second, please?
I second.
Okay, roll call.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Ms. Lopez?
Aye.
Mr. Sandoval?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, item 8.3, informational. It's the first interim budget report letter review by MCOE. It's more of an informational item.
Yeah, so that's just informational. It's pretty much saying that the County Office of Education received the first interim report. They did give us a positive certification and they provide us the letter. So it's just informational.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if I noticed the last time around, but they misspelled my last name. But I was like, I don't know if this is the first time I noticed it or ever since I've been board president it's happened. But
I'll look into that.
yeah. Okay. Okay, so just any questions or comments? Okay, item 8.4, approval of the annual audit report for 2021, 2022.
So I did provide some information on the Friday letter, so I'm not going to go over that. I do have Alex here, who is our auditor online. So he's going to go ahead and talk about the audit report. Just a little bit of background. As you know, it's kind of like a long process. We start early June, July. They come to the site. They do a lot of review on the paperwork, financial statements, and then they also visit every school site. And they also do an audit in there. And then after we close the books, they come back again and they do they get more information, more auditing work. And then we work along all the way through December and we get a draft of the audit report. We work through the findings and resolutions. I did provide a copy to the County Office of Education. They reviewed the audit report. We're working on corrective action for right now. It was only one, which I already got back at them. We just have to write procedures on the ASB finding audit. That was the only one that we got from the county. And then the county does go and submit the final audit report to the state. And then we have Alex here who's going to talk more about the audit report.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. So again, my name is Alex Hom from Moss Levy and Hartsheim. We gave the district an unmodified clean opinion, but however, there were two findings. The first finding was for, we looked at deposits for ASB at Gavilan View this year, and we noticed that one deposit did not have substantial backup from one of I believe it was for field trip kind of fundraiser, ticket collection proceeds. The second finding was for we had to look at independent study contracts this year because of COVID and short-term independent, a lot more in the short-term independent study contracts. The contracts themselves, they were fine. However, we did find a few that did not have the necessary signatures on them, nor did they have any. At the elementary school, there was some students that didn't have the work involved in that short term. Like in order for the count, you have to have the work on file. And like there was a kid that was on independent study for 2 days, and they couldn't find the work for those 2 days. Other than that, the adjustments that we had to make in terms of the books, one of them was mainly a presentation kind of adjustment. One of the main accounting rules is we have to show the value of the Monterey County investment pool at June 30. And the way that the investment pool works is all the school districts in Monterey County, special districts, they pull their money at the county, and then the county then invests that money to, in bonds, treasury notes, like safe investments for the year. And if you remember, as of June 30, 2022, the financial markets were not doing that great. So the value as of those investments as of June 30, 2022 was probably down about 3%. And usually the counties are usually about 0.01 plus or minus 0.01%. So normally we never really have to do the adjustment. But since this year at June 30, the markets weren't doing too great, we have to make that adjustment. Just for presentation purposes, the cash is still there. It's just in terms of showing on the financial statements, we have to show that 3% kind of, it went down. Another big thing is one of the big things we did this year in the financial statements was we have to show leases, the school district has they lease out pretty much for cell towers, and then we have to show the total amount that's valued of what they're going to collect in the next couple of years, and that's under lease receivables under kind of the balance sheet. Other than that, everything went smoothly. Rosa and Debbie, the staff, they did a fantastic job, and makes my life pretty easy. So, nothing to it. Any questions regarding the audit process, or anything like that?
Questions from the board? No, I was pretty thorough, and it was interesting because on Monday when we did our training, they specifically said, you can't approve the audit, you can only accept the audit. So he says, when you go on your board agenda, he says, because if you don't approve it, that's your audit. That's what it is. So just keep in mind, board members, when you approve your audit, you're accepting it, you're not approving it, you're just getting it. So, and I think the biggest takeaway for us was you're always going to have findings. The concerns come up if there are repeated findings of the same issue year after year, which in this case, it mentioned there was no repeated findings, which he says it's always good because it lets you know where there might be holes in your system, and then it gives you an opportunity to correct it. So those were only my comments. So can I get a motion to accept?
A motion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
I almost forgot. Sarah Turner.
Aye.
Cindy Perez.
Lopez.
No, I always do that. Cindy Lopez, I apologize.
Aye.
And Jacob Sandoval.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes 3-0.
Okay. Thank you, Alexander, for coming to our meeting.
All right, thank you. Have a good rest of the night.
You too.
You too.
Bye.
Thank you, Alex. And Rosa, thank you to you and your staff for an exceptional job, always.
Yeah, I'm glad you used to work for the county. Okay, moving on to item 9.1, approval of contract with People Bench for staff resilience tracking and workforce strategy builder.
Thank you. I'm very excited to bring this contract forward. This is an 18-month contract with People Bench, who are just beginning to roll out their services in the U.S. They have some history in Australia. Implementing research-based workforce strategy and implementation, particularly around staff resiliency and well-being. So one of the benefits I'm most excited about is to get some research-based data points for our particular staff where there are areas that we can improve in the way that we're supporting them by school site. And there will be some ongoing support with that from People Bench checking in with principals and with myself to give suggestions on how to address certain points where there are pressures that we have control to change some things, as well as looking at our recruitment retention strategy. So this will be a great asset for human resources and for our school principals.
Any questions or comments? No? Yeah, I saw a lot of the videos and it's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to see what information we get from it. So can I get a?
Yeah, I'm in a motion to approve. The only thing I would say, like maybe 9 months through or halfway, kind of just an update on how we feel.
I would love to do that. Yeah.
Thank you. Motion to approve.
Okay. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Ms. Lopez?
Aye.
Mr. Sandoval?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, item 9.2, approval of a new 3.0 full-time employee for speech and language pathologist for the 2023-2024 school year.
Thank you. For special education, as our speech caseload has continued to rise, you've seen the contracts for the SLP services through contract agencies, and our preference, knowing that these caseloads are not temporary, they're going to stay with us, would be to hire our own employees, which will also result in a cost savings overall.
Questions or comments?
I just want to take a moment to say thank you, ladies, because that is seeing the numbers here is going to be a great savings for our district. So I'm actually pretty excited for this job position that the district's going to be offering.
And I know, Sarah, you brought up concerns about too much contracting, so this is good too.
If we can actually hire these people, I will be super excited, and I'm grateful for all the contract people that we have, just so we're providing the services that our students need. But yeah, no, I think this would be great.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Ms. Lopez?
Aye.
Mr. Sandoval?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, item 9.3, approval of side letter agreement between SRTA and the district to increase service for year credit for teachers new to the district.
So also in the spirit of recruiting our own employees, speech language therapists, all of our SRTA certificated positions. Currently, our agreement with SRTA is that we will accept up to 15 years of service credit for placement on the salary schedule. This agreement will allow us to accept up to 25 years of service, which is the maximum on the salary schedule, which we're hoping is going to give us a competitive edge in our recruitment efforts.
Okay, and I had a little bit of question now that you mentioned that. So like if a teacher transfers over and they have 15 years, they would start up at that step level of 15-year service, yeah?
Yeah, so we verify, and this is common, what districts do is they send a verification of employment to the previous school districts where a teacher has worked and ensure that they've worked the complete school year, which is considered 75% or more of that school year. And so currently, yeah, the maximum has been 15. In order to recruit teachers who may have more experience, this will be helpful.
Okay, and that pretty much works if they're coming from anywhere in California?
Anywhere.
Anywhere in general, okay. And then just so I kind of understand the hiring process, so let's say they have 15-year experience, they come to our district, they still kind of go through the probationary 1 period and then 2.
Yeah,
to get their
regardless of
tenure.
service, years of service in any other district, Ed Code is the one that defines that probationary period that we follow.
Okay, great. I just wanted to understand that a little better. Thank you.
Sure.
Just a comment, North County did this about 8 years ago, and it's been hugely beneficial. And just to let the board know, primarily what it's done is people who've had to move because of a spouse's job, that they've moved into the area and they're like, oh, I'm a 20-year teacher. I don't want to go to Santa Rita because they'll take me as year 15. Then suddenly they're like, oh, I can go there. So that we being North County in this case, picked up a lot of people had to move because of the spouse's work.
Yeah.
Like that was the number one thing. The other thing, there were people that were living right next to the school for years and years, but were working somewhere else who didn't move over because they were going to lose their service credits. And suddenly were like, oh, wait, I could teach next door to where I live. And, and maybe they got that job, somewhere else like 20 years ago. So I've only had positive experience in terms of increasing the number of
of service years that people will take.
Okay, perfect, great.
Thank you. And on that spirit, motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Ms. Lopez?
Aye.
Mr. Sandoval?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, moving on to item 10.1, it's informational item, SST district process update.
Perfect. That's my item. So let me just share my screen really quick. Can I get a thumbs up? People can see my screen. Perfect. So Santa Rita's SSTs. Just wanted to give a brief overview for those of you not familiar with SSTs or student study teams. Also, currently, we call them at some sites student success teams. Positive team, oriented approach, really about monitoring and supporting students around academics and behaviors. Was able to pull a leadership team together upon principals' suggestion of different team members, and really tried to target a diverse group of team. So teachers, school psychologists, social workers, counselor, principals, and get different perspective to be able to bring to the team and also be able to share out on their different processes. And kind of did some goal setting and visioning. So it was a great meeting. We are going to be getting together bi-weekly here in the next few months, and then we'll move to monthly for the rest of the school year. I get this question a lot, so I was just going to do a quick overview of who's at the SST table typically, right? So typically you'll have a gen ed teacher, a special education teacher, possibly. If it's moving in that direction, you could have a counselor. You'll want to have parents and guardians at the meeting to collaborate, principals or an assistant principal to serve as like an LEA representative. Student if age appropriate, right? Whenever we can get students included in learning about their own plans and how to advocate for themselves, we should, right? So when age appropriate. Nurse, so if there's health concerns or other pieces, we'd want to include our district nurse in the process. Speech concerns, right? Collaborating with your speech pathologist. Same goes for occupational therapists. School psychologists are always a great resource to bring to the table, right? So really looking at it as a collaboration opportunity to meet and work together as a team. Met with principals over the last year and really refining our SST referral process. So recognizing a student issue, reaching out and connecting with parent guardians and doing a conference, doing a staff meeting to kind of talk about student needs. Step 6, right? Scheduling that SST meeting. Doing an actual official SST referral, which we're currently doing typically in Cyrus, which is our online virtual system. Monitoring, collecting data. So this is a piece that all school sites really targeted as an area that they wanted to develop and work on. Holding those SST meetings with parents and guardians, and then having like a follow-up meeting, right? Where we have goals for what's going to happen in the next few weeks. And then that step 8 is, again, what I just said, the monitoring. And right, looking at, is this child fine where we have a student that should be assessed for special education, are interventions working, and we're going to continue to monitor and get back together in an SST meeting. I liked this. I used this in the principal training a few months ago, but gathering relevant data, identifying possible solutions, creating a plan of action, right, in that SST meeting, monitoring progress, and then reviewing, repeating, and referring. So coming together, it was really a great evening meeting. I don't know why this is cutting off. Let me get out of that. Let's see. Okay, I'm just going to present. Can you guys still see this okay if I'm not in full present mode? For some reason, it's cutting. Perfect. So the big takeaway was every team, every school site was able to share out on what their current process was. And what really was impressive is we already have some alignment, right? So kudos to our teams. There is some alignment Where we really saw areas of growth was around creating shared forms. We also all came up with the goal of wanting to be able to use Cyrus, our online system, consistently, right? That makes it easier too, because that's also the same program that we use for 504s as well as IEPs. And it was just really nice for them to set some big picture goals and then do some backwards mapping of like, well, what would we need to do to get there, right? So review forms that each site is using and create district-wide forms, right? So we have alignment across the district. That creating a progress monitoring tool really was a theme of the evening. So really they talked about how important they wanted to align systems to have that progress monitoring that would drive next steps. Like I said a minute ago, right, using that online system consistently. We actually talked about how we could even make some changes within Cyrus to make the meetings more seamless and make more sense in the flow of the meeting. Teams also discussed interventions that they had and how that progress monitoring would affect that. They also talked about just how those interventions play a role in their SST process. And again, the progress monitoring was a huge piece of that. Are there any questions? And again, the plan is to, right, this was just the start of the work. We do have plans to get together in a few weeks. We did some pre-work coming into that meeting. So the next meeting, their takeaway was to go back, to look over their forms, to look at exactly how many meetings they're holding in Cyrus, and then be able to come back together as a team and share out on those. So I feel good about this. I feel like we have some strong next steps and really just see us solidifying our SST process and building the capacity of our teams will really support our special ed referrals, right? Because if we can get those interventions and pieces happening, right, we're less likely just to jump to a SPED referral and more likely to get them in the correct interventions and supports. Questions, comments, ideas?
Thank you for all your work around this. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate just the process of looking at it. The only recommendation I would make is going back and looking at the data, because my experience as an educator is that some teachers like me are squeaky wheels and are bringing forth their concerns about students all the time. And other people never bring forward concerns, maybe feel that like they're a bad teacher if they have concerns, kind of thing. So sort of looking at who, and I know some of the TOSAs are already doing this, like trying to look at outside data, you know, to see like who are we missing, that kind of thing, or who are we over identifying, but just trying to keep that process going so it's not just us squeaky wheels that get the oil.
That's a really good point, Sarah. And, you know, it's interesting because each principal reflected on their referral process too. 2 of our sites had even a pre-meeting to SSTs, which I found interesting, right? So absolutely, you know, I think that's a huge piece for us with Child Find, right, is making sure that we're not missing students. So yeah, great point.
Thank you, Melanie, first of all, for this. I'm excited to see, you know, give us some background further in how it's going, but also because as a parent, you know, like you said, sometimes, you know, right away it's like, oh, go here, and there could be other solutions, other steps. What are we missing? So this seems great. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, moving on to item 10.2, approval of independent educational evaluations.
Perfect. This is also my item. So independent educational evaluations, or IEEs, are, you know, of course, a parent's right to request. And this comes from a parent that requested these for both of her students within our district. These are psychoeducational. So this is one that an outside psychologist will do. They conduct that assessment and then they come in and work with the IEP team and are able to share their results, and we collaborate. So this is 2 IEs.
Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Ms. Lopez?
Aye.
Mr. Sandoval?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, item 10.3, approval of independent educational evaluations for functional behavior assessment.
Perfect. So again, very similar to the last IEE request. This is actually, if you recognize the name of the contractor, we do work with them, Life Applied. They are a BCBA company within our community. And we have been contracting with them on various cases where we really need an expert BCBA to come in to get eyes on the student, do the assessment, and able to provide a functional behavior assessment and give us feedback on how to better serve our students with their behavioral needs. So this is one of those IEEs.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Okay, second.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Ms. Lopez?
Aye.
Mr. Sandoval?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, item 11.1, approval of resolution 23.02.05, proclaiming the celebration of Black History Month.
I will read that resolution.
Yes,
Okay.
please. Thank you.
No worries. It's going to be a test. Let's see how many of these folks you know that are named here and that I say them correctly. So proclaiming the celebration of Black History Month, whereas Black History Month is in the United States a historic tradition beginning in 1926. Whereas in 1976, when President Gerald Ford officially recognized Black History Month, he urged Americans to honor the accomplishments of Black Americans, including the contributions and legacy of activists and civil rights pioneers, such as, but not limited to, Frederick Douglass, Sojourner Truth, Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and Rosa Parks. And whereas it is appropriate that all citizens reflect upon, cherish, and sustain the contributions of Black individuals, both past and contemporary, have made to our nation, Marian Anderson, Maya Angelou, Louis Armstrong, Mary McLeod Bethune, I'm like, what's up? Frederick Douglass, Duke Ellington, Louis Gossett Jr., Alex Haley, Vice President Kamala Harris, Zora Neale Hurston, Thurgood Marshall, President Barack Obama, Colin Powell, Rosa Parks, Leontine Price, Paul Robeson, Alice Walker, Phyllis Wheatley, and many more. And whereas such people have sacrificed so we may progress and be inspired during hard times and encouraged to celebrate and rejoice during happy times, now, therefore. And whereas the theme for Black History Month in 2023 is Back Resistance, explores how African Americans have resisted historic and ongoing oppression in all forms, especially the racial terrorism of lynching, racial programs, and police killings since our arrival upon these shores. These efforts have been to advocate for the dignified, self-determined life in a just democratic society in the United States and beyond the United States political jurisdictions. And whereas the Santa Rita Union School District and its schools are committed to ensuring that all Santa Rita Union School District students' education includes the contributions and accomplishments of the Black community, as well as acknowledging and addressing systemic racism and anti-Blackness. And now be it resolved that the Santa Rita Union School District does hereby proclaim February 2023 as Black History Month. The struggles and achievements of Black people and their role in America's history profoundly influences and enriches the culture of the United States. Santa Rita Union School District acknowledges these contributions and reaffirms its ongoing commitment to building awareness and an inclusive society.
Okay, thank you for reading. Any questions or comments from the board? No, just thank you for reading, and I think these months and stuff are super important. So with that, can I get a motion to approve?
I motion.
Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Ms. Lopez?
Aye.
Mr. Sandoval?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Okay, 13.1, approval of CSBA manual maintenance, December 2022.
Thank you. It's that time of year again. So of course the December one got to us in late January. So here it is in early February. And we get our quarterly updates, our CSBA updates to board policy. Most often policy updates have to do with changes in language required by new legislation or regulations that have come out or changes to ed code.
Okay, and as part of the board member on the board policy, sole member, I did read it through, so. Okay, can I get a motion to approve?
I'm going to make a motion, and I also thank you and all the people for the work of going through, and this is the better option for us. This doesn't apply to us. You know, it's a lot. So motion to approve.
Okay, can I get a second, please?
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Ms. Turner,
Aye.
Ms. Lopez,
Aye.
Mr. Sandoval.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, item 13.2, approval of contract with Jennifer Abrams for professional coaching for superintendent's cabinet members.
That's sort of all of our items, but I'll represent it. So one of our goals, as a board and district was to provide coaching opportunities for all of our administrators, and we felt like that also included cabinet. And since we all kind of set goals around better communication with our individual departments as well as district-wide, it made sense to reach out to a pretty well-renowned communication expert, Jennifer Abrams. And so we're focusing a lot of our work around her book, Stretching Your Learning Edges, Growing Up at Work. And so a one-day workshop focused on that, and then individual coaching sessions from February to June of up to 2 hours per cabinet member. And it shows you that cost divided per cabinet member.
Okay, thank you. And I did look up her video, so she has a lot of great stuff out there. So can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Ms. Lopez?
Aye.
Mr. Sandoval?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, finally, 14.1, our next regular board meeting will be Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023. 14.2, suggested future board items, if there's any. No? Okay, with that, can I get a motion to adjourn at 8:29?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Ms. Lopez?
Aye.
Mr. Sandoval?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Have a nice evening, everyone. Thank you.